Hey, what's up, everybody? Andy Blake's here from Y360, and I'm super excited because I have one of my close ministry friends, Chris Trent. Chris, what's up, buddy? How are you?
Hey, man. Thanks for having me on. I'm doing good.
Listen, dude, it's my pleasure. You're in Georgia. We're doing a Zoom thing.
Yeah.
We're here in Birmingham.
Technically, I'm in Marietta, but it's basically Atlanta.
Okay.
So,
That's right. It's close enough to Atlanta. So Chris is, as I mentioned, good friend of ours, of mine personally at Y360. Chris has been a youth pastor for 1,000,000 years, which is a cool thing.
Thanks for making me feel ancient, but yeah, keep going. Yeah,
we're both old, buddy. There's no turning back now. Chris has been at Johnson's Ferry Baptist Church in Atlanta, Georgia for, I had to ask you, 16 and a half years. That's a long time.
Yeah, I've been blessed, man. It's been a
lot of legacy. Very cool. Chris has done middle school and junior high ministry there, but he's the student pastor there at Johnson's Ferry. Chris is you're an author. You host an amazing podcast, youth ministry podcast, co-host it called The Longer Haul. You are all over youth ministry. You're a guru. And I love that we're going to get a chat here a little bit today. Y'all doing all right?
I feel like it can only go down from here after that introduction, but yeah, okay, great.
Man, and that's not even I could have gone farther. You lead workshops and you're very influential. And I know this type of environment where you're teaching and training is really close to your heart. You do have a passion for mentoring, especially younger youth pastors. And so this is cool. Let me just real quickly set the context here, and I'm going to let you kind of lead us. You and I got to partner together this past fall in late 2020 to do an event together. You guys do fantastic Disciple Now weekends, or, I know some of our folks don't use that terminology, but just a retreat weekend, a D-Now, Disciple Now, there at Johnson Ferry. And big weekends and really awesome dynamic weekends. And you guys so happened to do one right in the midst of the pandemic culture that we're in. And I was honored to get to speak. And I left there so impressed with you and your team and the way that you guys just created such a safe environment and a practical environment where parents and students all felt great about being there. And it didn't interfere with anything. The Spirit really moved. It was a great weekend. So I came back to our team as we were talking about the content we're going to do for this first quarter blog content, tools and training. I thought, man, we got to have Chris on to talk about it. And so that's what we want to talk about today is really how you guys were so successful at Johnson's Ferry putting on a COVID-friendly event. And again, like I said, it was a large event. You guys, what was it? 400 or 500 people there? Well, maybe I guess you include adults.
For us, it just ends up, for us, D-Now has been, we just call it D-Now. For us, it's been that event that God's just had his unique hand on in terms of just folks showing up and being a part of this event. I think like a lot of folks right now, if we can get 40 or 50% of what we would normally have, that's a huge win for us. And again, like so many of us, we started off just trying to figure out what we could do.
Yeah.
Hopefully, as people are watching this, you and I are recording this in early January of 2021. My D-Now was back in November.
That's right.
So a few months ago. And hopefully we're on the downhill slope.
I hope, man.
Nobody will be clicking on this much because it's not
we just had a few
anymore,
cancellations,
right?
though. I mean, we just had a big event that we were supposed to be at in Jonesboro, Arkansas in February. I dropped my pen.
Sure.
And just canceled today. So, Chris, I think, unfortunately, it's going to be with us for a while. So,
and I think at least through the rest of this, through spring and into summer, I don't think even with people getting, vaccines, that it's going to completely allow us to just go into summer, totally fancy, free, with like not worrying about it. We're going to be careful, be smart.
That's right. And so help the youth worker that's watching this, if they want to put on an event here, MLK weekend or, February, March.
Yeah.
You guys had, I asked you to just come up with just a few things. And I think you came up with maybe 5 things that
Five's a good number.
And if you didn't, now you have to make up a few.
I'll make them up. Yeah.
That's right. So kick us off here. Help us to know some things that you did. You guys did a COVID-friendly.
I'm going to try not to keep swinging. I notice that I'm doing this a whole lot too, so I'm going to try not to do this, everybody.
You're on a swing. If I'm doing it, then it's a problem. I think you're okay.
Yeah. Well, here's where I would start. And I think this would make sense to you, Andy, and I think most people would get this as well. But if you're going to do a COVID-friendly event, I think you have to start with leadership support.
That's good.
As a youth pastor, remembering that we're under the authority of our pastor and our leadership team, and depending on your church, deacons or elders or whatever that might look like. And I think for any of us to try to go too rogue and just do something on our own that's not under the authority of that leadership, I think that's going to be a problem. So I think you have to start with, hey, what are you willing for me to even consider? Because if your pastor is going to turn around and say no, you're not even, you honestly are going to have an uphill battle.
Well, that's a great point you make. I mean, it honors what we understand about biblical authority and working well, being part of a team. But it also, Chris, don't you think it allows you, and this would never be the primary motivation, but it gets you somebody in your corner too, when you are kind of talking to parents and you are trying to get people comfortable about this. It's like, hey, I didn't just wing it. I'm working on a team here, and we've thought this through.
Sure. Yeah, and you're going to need that, because here's the thing that I would remind everyone. Youth pastors are feeling a little beat up by all of this with all the parent opinions, that are all over the map. Why aren't you doing anything? Or how dare you do something? Or how dare you make my kid wear a mask? Or why wouldn't you make all kids wear a mask? Right. And where's the middle of all that, right? Yeah. Here's the thing. I really believe that even though we're feeling a little beat up by that, our pastors are especially
that's a great point.
Beat up. And so again, you're going to want your pastor and those that he reports to be in your corner, like you said. Yeah. It's going to be crucial. It's just, again, now's not the time to be that Pied Piper and lead off and just do your own thing. Keep it in mind also that your pastor also has to reconcile the decision to allow you to do an event like D Now with the children's ministry and whether or not they're going to be allowed to do a thing.
That's
or the
point.
Adult chili supper that wants to happen. If he's saying no to those people but then says yes to you, well, surely you would understand why that would be a conflict. So I think that's one thing to just keep in mind. You gotta have that leadership support for sure.
Great word, dude. Okay, so leadership support. What's next?
I think so. Here's where we started. We started once we knew we had the support of Clay, our pastor, to try something. We sat down and we simply said, okay, we know what we can't do, we cannot do. What can we do? So then we looked at the framework that already exists at Johnson Ferry. So then we were able to say, okay, well, the framework that we're living in, which is going to be different for everybody that's listening, we had already started meeting on Sunday mornings back together in church. So there was already that framework built in to where some of our people were already used to that, and our leadership was used to that, and our volunteers were used to that. So we said, well, hey, let's build something around what we know we can do that's not going to be too crazy. So it was pretty quick for us to go spending the night at a home. For us, that was like, that didn't exist there was no context in public schools anywhere that people were doing that kind of stuff. So we quickly said that there's no way we can do spend a night at homes thing. But what we can do is we can get creative with the type of services we're already having on Sunday mornings, but make those student ministry friendly. Bring in a really cool guy like Andy Blanks to speak.
Who wears the same shirt on the Zoomcast that he wore.
That you wore at D Now. That's
pointed out. So I appreciate that.
And I think it just, for us, it was what can we do based on the things we're already doing that people are already used to. And I would even say this, the framework also existed. Like, my daughter's already hanging out with her quarantine, if you will. We use this word quarantine. It's a little windy. I hope that's not picking up. Sorry.
No, it's good.
But we wanted to honor that. That was part of the framework that already existed. So we said, hey, let's come in together for a worship time, put people together in the people that they're already hanging out with outside of Johnson Ferry already anyway, and then maybe we could do a few breakout things at our church, so that ended up working because, again, it was part of the framework that already existed.
It did work. Like, the kids, I noticed your kids honored their groups. I mean, and I don't want to steal your thunder, I don't know your additional points here, but
no, it's great.
The way you guys moved in students in and out, was very controlled, but it was in their little affinity groups that they were, as you say, kind of Abby was already in that group. And so it's natural to be there. So one thing I'm hearing you saying is, safety is important. That's all overall this, but comfort is important as well. And I think you guys did a really good job of operating within that framework so that your people were comfortable, allowing their students to come to this event.
Well, that's a great transition into really what my third point is, Andy.
Good.
Which is take COVID serious.
Yeah, that's right.
And now's not the time for us to be winking and going, yeah, we need to wear our masks.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
The challenge is, as youth pastors, is there's never been a time. It's rare that people look to us and go, I need you to be the expert.
That's right.
On really adult type things, right? And we get that sometimes as youth pastors, but generally speaking, if we're doing a good job keeping the teenagers focused and, occupied and investing in them, we're doing pretty good. Now we've all had to become experts on this thing called COVID and how to gather.
Yeah.
I like to say take COVID serious, because if you don't, I think that's going to show. To be real clear, you're not going to be able to please everybody. There are going to be some people that are like, this whole thing's fake. There are going to be some people who are, oh my gosh, the sky has fallen. And the end times, it's completely over. I would try to focus on that middle ground there, but take COVID serious. And that means you have to strategically think in a way that you never had to think about when you dismiss your group.
Yeah.
How to dismiss your group. You never had to think about that before.
That's right.
You say, hey, we're done. You were there for us. We said, hey, you're done. Everybody sit down. We're going to dismiss you.
And it was
and we just
so well thought out, and you got stuck to your plan.
we even thought it out, Andy, to the point of saying we're going to have somebody out in the atrium to whisk them away.
Get them away.
If not,
that's right.
If we just stay inside but then we allow the same 300 people to go out into our atrium and gather. What do we?
You've not really dismissed it.
We've not really done anything, So we've had to say, leave.
Yeah.
Leave the building. Now what they do in the parking lots.
I mean, at a certain point. Yeah. But I like what you say there, because it seems to me as you're talking, I have this vision of like, Paul talking about all things to all people. Like, we do have to honor all the parents in our ministry, and maybe personally you fall on somewhere in that spectrum, right? But it's about being a good member of the body that you belong to. It's about honoring those people, like you said, on all ends of the spectrum. So I think that's really, really wise. And I think this is what you're saying. If we're going to camp out on one end of the spectrum or not, regardless of where we feel personally, it's almost best as a leader, as a member of a church, to camp out on that. Okay, I'm going to take this serious. Whether maybe I personally don't believe that, or maybe I'm even on this other end, like, I'm going to just go, hey, we're going to play by the rules. We're going to be good citizens of our state, and we're going to be good members of our church. We're going to do what the authorities say, and we're not going to wink. Like, we're going to do it. We're going to take it serious, so that basically it's about being above reproach in our leadership. So I love that you make that point, and you guys again modeled that really, really well.
Well, thank you. Yeah. And so really just kind of builds on itself, right? So when you start off and you start thinking about, right off the bat, when you start thinking about, like, do I have my support from my pastor? Well, that matches up to, you're going to have to make sure that you're taking it serious, because you have to honor that support that you have. Then you think about the framework, you're going to have to create these things out of that framework, right? As you're taking it serious. And my fourth point would simply be that you need to seek wise counsel. I think everybody listening, how old you are, and how much experience you have, and whether or not you're great at administration or if you're terrible at it, right? I think you want to make sure that you're putting together a team of volunteers that can sit down and process, okay, are we doing a COVID safe event? Again, finding the middle ground people, not way far on one end, not the way far on the other end, but finding those middle ground people that can really help you just kind of say, okay, oh wait, we didn't think about the fact that this is going to happen. Yeah. Because you're going to want this. Again, this is not a time to be flying solo. I mean, matter of fact, I think one of the things I'm seeing is the youth pastors that have been in the habit of flying solo are struggling more than most right now.
I think that's fair.
And that's I don't want to pile guilt on to anybody watching this. If you happen to be, I hope that's something, though, that comes out of this, is that a lot of folks realize, man, I really need to make sure I build a team of volunteers, so it's seek wise counsel.
Yeah. I mean, we all have blind spots. We all have blind spots in our personal life and ministry and all that. And so, having people who can just put another set of eyeballs on what we're doing. Again, at the end of the day, you want people to be confident in your leadership. You want the event to be safe and effective. And so making sure there are no blind spots is a great thing. What's your last point there, Chris?
Last point is pretty simple, except it's probably the most challenging. You have to have a response plan. You're going to have to think through the fact that odds are on Monday morning or whatever event that you happen to have, odds are that you're going to get a phone call, especially right now as I'm sitting here. I'd rather be outside right now because my daughter's upstairs with COVID.
I was about to say, Abby doing great. That's COVID. Yeah,
she's doing great.
She's doing
I feel like I'm a ticking time bomb right now. But there is going to be a phone call made to say to you, we got it right after our DNOW. Hey, so-and-so just tested positive. So you're going to have a plan. Our recommendation would be this. You plan in advance what your response is going to be so that you're not reacting out of urgency. Compare your plan to how your school system is doing it and how other people are doing it as well.
Yeah, that's good.
So you want to match up to that. And again, make sure you go all the way back to number one. You want to have leadership support, because here's the thing. You send that email out, blast your entire group that, so-so had COVID. All of a sudden your pastor is getting emails about, whoa, wait a second. What?
Yeah.
You want to keep them in the loop and make sure everybody's in agreement to how we're going to handle, because odds are, you're going to get some, especially over the next couple of months as we're figuring out the vaccine thing and all this stuff. I mean, odds are it's going to happen.
Man, I love that. That last bit of advice to me is, I mean, all this has been fantastic. I'm so glad we did this. But that last bit of advice is so solid, because I'm just envisioning a parent emailing, it hits, and it's like, if you don't respond for 2 or 3 hours, what does that parent think you're doing? Exactly what you're probably doing. You're running around trying to circle the wagons, and if you've got that response already nailed down, and I think that's something that's probably really easy for people to overlook. So I love that that's where you ended, because
I think it's probably easier. Yeah, I think it's probably easier for most of us in January of 21 than it was in
that's fair.
June of 20. We probably
anticipated
been in circumstances, but it's still worth kind of making sure. Even the making sure your volunteers know to communicate to you, even your chain of command, if you will, for knowing who's going to handle it and how it's going to be handled. Yeah,
or just passing information up. I mean, a lot of times, maybe the small group leader, I'm thinking about my daughters. I'd probably text my small group leader first. Well, what if that small group leader never texts you? And you 2 days later and you don't know. So that's good, that idea of passing up the chain. Dude, this was so informative. I'm so glad we did this.
I had a great time, man. Thanks for letting me do it.
You're the right guy for it. And like I said, just kind of seeing you guys and just the way you lead your team. I get a lot of us here at Y360 get to preach and teach, and you do as well. You preach and teach other churches, and you have these experiences where you see friends of yours that but then you get to watch them kind of on the ground. And you have a fantastic team. But I left your
and all of this. I would just to clarify. I all of this comes out of what I've been blessed with as far as the people I get to work with. This is not like me sitting there. I'm blessed to lead those folks, but a lot of this creativity and a lot of stuff comes from them. But I will say this, Andy, it's easy to think, big church, right? In this moment.
Yeah.
Even prior to this, when I served at a smaller church, I would encourage folks, I know we need to wrap up, but I would encourage folks to not sell yourself short on, well, of course you're in a big church and you got a team. I had a team when it was just me.
Yeah.
Because you have to create that with volunteers and people you can trust, and it is possible to build that. It takes time and work. We could do a whole other thing.
That's right. And we probably should.
on building that. But it's worth it to have those key people in your life. It's huge.
Well, and you do a great job leading them. Chris, it's great spending time with you. Guys, if you want more of Chris's wisdom, check out Logger Hall Podcast. He's got a great book out called Consider This. He's always got something cooking. So if you can catch Chris at a conference or a workshop, definitely do it. Chris, thank you so much for being with us today. And I look forward to hanging out with you again soon once COVID's off our radar and things stop being canceled, real. Right?
I'll come through Birmingham. You can buy me some Milos.
Milos. Come on, let's do barbecue. Let's not do Milo. Milos is good. All right, buddy. We'll talk to you soon, man.
All right, bud. See you.
See you, dude.